Solomon Northup, born in the month of July in the year 1808, is the son of a former slave. During his formative years, he spent his days laboring on the family farm alongside his father. The farm is located in the countryside, surrounded by lush greenery and rolling hills. The two men work hard, tending to the fields and the crops and caring for the livestock. The work on the farm is strenuous but rewarding. The days are long, but the rewards are sweet. Solomon relishes the simple pleasures of a life on the farm, such as the warm sun on his skin, the fresh air, and the scent of the earth. He takes pride in his work and feels a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that he is helping to sustain his family and provide for their needs. Growing up, he has also developed a skill in playing the violin, a talent that will both help and lead him into trouble in the future. At 21, Solomon marries Ann Hampton, and they start a family of their own, with Solomon working in various fields, including farming, lumberjacking, and performing on the violin. In the year 1841, Solomon receives an offer to travel to Washington, D.C. to play his violin at a series of concerts. The recruiters, Brown and Hamilton, promise him high wages and a quick trip. Intrigued by the opportunity, Solomon accepts and begins his journey to Washington, D.C. As they travel, Solomon enjoys the company of the recruiters, who are friendly and jovial. However, when they reach Washington, D.C., their demeanor changes. They give Solomon alcohol, and after a day of excessive drinking, he becomes terribly ill. While on his way to seek medical attention, he loses consciousness and falls into a deep slumber. The following day, Solomon wakes up to a living nightmare. He is shackled in chains and surrounded by unfamiliar faces. As reality sets in, he realizes he has been taken to a slave market in the South, where he is stripped of his identity and sold as a slave under the name of Platt. Despite his desperate pleas and attempts to prove his free status, he is mercilessly beaten and subjected to inhumane conditions. The once proud and free man is now a slave, forced to work the fields under the harsh whip of his cruel masters, with little to no hope of ever reclaiming his freedom. Solomon has now fully become a slave, laboring on the plantation and lumber mill owned by William Ford, located in the central region of Louisiana. He is a benevolent master who is deeply religious and generous to his enslaved workers. Solomon enjoys working for Ford and even comes up with an innovative solution for Ford to save both time and resources by transporting the lumber through waterways instead of overland. As a result of his ingenuity, Solomon earns the affection of Ford. Despite this, due to a series of financial difficulties, Ford is forced to sell Platt to John M. Tibbets, a cruel carpenter. Tibbets terrifies Platt so much, constantly tormenting him with threats and verbal abuse. One day, while working on a continuing construction project, Tibbets' anger reaches a boiling point and he tries to physically attack Platt with a whip. However, Platt proves to be the stronger of the two and turned the table on Tibbets successfully, defending himself by whipping his tormentor instead. Determined to take revenge, Tibbets made 2 attempts to kill Platt. However, his plans were foiled by the intervention of William Ford and his overseer, Mr. Chapin. Unable to successfully murder Platt, Tibbets instead sells him to a new slave owner, Edwin Epps, a notorious Negro breaker. Edwin Epps has quite a number of female slaves and begins to develop a dangerous obsession with one of his slaves, Patsy. Patsy is renowned for her exceptional cotton-picking abilities and hard work. However, This only serves as fuel for Ep's fascination with her, and he begins to sexually abuse her on a regular basis. This abuse leads to a vicious cycle of violence and oppression for all the slaves on the plantation, as Epps becomes increasingly cruel and erratic in his behavior. Platt becomes a witness to the horrific abuse that Patsy endures. Despite his own longing for freedom, Platt finds himself torn between his own desire for escape and his loyalty to his fellow slaves, who have become like family to him over the years. The injustice and suffering he witnesses around him weigh heavily on his conscience, leaving him with feelings of hopelessness and despair. Nevertheless, he remains determined to find a way to survive and ultimately reclaim his freedom. The years pass and Solomon remains a slave, facing increasing hardship and abuse. Despite this, he never stops searching for a way to regain his freedom. One day, he meets a Canadian carpenter named Bass, who takes an interest in Solomon's situation and offers to help him escape. Together, they hatch a plan for Solomon's escape, but it quickly becomes apparent that their efforts are being thwarted. Despite their best efforts, they are unable to carry out their plan, and Solomon remains enslaved. As a result of the failed escape attempt, Solomon is subjected to even greater hardship and abuse. He is forced to perform grueling manual labor, working longer hours in the fields and in the lumber mill. He is also subjected to brutal punishment and beatings, which threaten to break his spirit. Despite the increasing difficulties he faces, Solomon refuses to give up hope. He continues to cling to the memory of his family and the life he once had, and remains determined to fight for his freedom. Through sheer willpower and resilience, he endures the hardships he faces and never loses sight of his ultimate goal of regaining his freedom. Eventually, he meets a kind-hearted abolitionist named Samuel Bass, who takes a personal interest in his case and offers to help him regain his freedom. Bass begins by gathering evidence of Solomon's identity and the circumstances of his enslavement, which he uses to bring a lawsuit against Solomon's slave master, as he is finally free from slavery. The moment of Solomon's liberation is a powerful and emotional one, with Solomon breaking down in tears as he realized that his long and difficult journey has finally come to an end. It is a testament to the strength of the human spirit and serves as a powerful message of hope and inspiration for all who have suffered oppression and injustice. Solomon travels north, where he is reunited with his family and begins the process of rebuilding his life. As he travels north, Solomon is filled with a sense of relief and gratitude, relishing the freedom he has fought so hard to attain. He looks around him at the open fields and clear blue sky, feeling a sense of awe at the beauty of the world around him. The reunion with his family is a poignant one. They are overjoyed to see him, rushing to embrace him as soon as he arrives. However, it is also clear that Solomon has been deeply affected by the years he spent in bondage, and his family is shocked at the physical and emotional toll it has taken on him. They gather around him, holding him and offering words of comfort and encouragement.